This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not.
What's creepy about that? Britain is on high alert for flash flooding over the coming days as storms could strike the country, with some areas braced for more than an inch of rain within 1 hour.
Oh, no.
Heavy downpours are likely across much of the UK, bringing a risk of fast-flowing or deep flood water. There may be thunder, lightning, very, very frightening.
Rock and roll!
And because nothing works in this country, because Margaret Thatcher sold everything we used to own to a bunch of shady con artists, when that much water hits the ground, it doesn't go in the drains, it goes everywhere. Thanks a lot, Margaret Thatcher. Bill! And because those lucky people under the waterfall of cash that comes with owning the right to deliver nature's most precious resource as a monopoly provider have not built any reservoirs since they were gifted our water companies, they're telling us that we must conserve water, just as their companies lose billions of gallons of the stuff every day. It's 3 billion gallons a day lost through leaks. And I know that that's a hard thing to get your head around. So imagine an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's 50 metres long, 25 metres wide and 2 metres deep. And you'd probably drown trying to do one length. It's a lot of water. Now, imagine that pool multiplied by 1,200. That's how much our water companies in England and Wales lose every day. Makes you want to scream, doesn't it? And now they got the nerve to tell us that we are the ones wasting water and we must stop using the service that we pay them for. You can't use a hosepipe if you're in the following water company areas. Yorkshire Water, all 5.7 million customers. South East Water, 1.4 million customers. Southern Water, 1 million customers. Thames Water, 1.1 million customers. But we're not really customers, though, are we? We are forced, under penalty of the law, to pay for their services, such as they are, and we have no option, no choice. That's not what I'd call a customer, more like a captured subject, praying for rain, so that we aren't told to share a bath.
Disgusting.
So there's a lot of rain on the way. But it won't do us any good, because the ground's too parched for it to sink in, and the drains can't hold it, so we're going to get flooding. That's what the experts say. They also say it's going to be muggy, sticky, as in sticky as a twig of a tree. Very humid before the storms begin, with temperatures topping 30 degrees centigrade, and I will translate European surrender centigrade to His Majesty's feet and inches. It's so easy an idiot could do it. You simply double it and add 32 to get from centigrade to feet. So double 30 is 60, and 60 plus 32 is 102. The temperature's going to be 102 feet tomorrow. Can you believe that?
No.
A Met Office yellow thunderstorm warning is in place for England land until 6 p.m. tomorrow. South East Water has begun a hosepipe ban, and gusty winds and frequent lightning and hail and spray and flooding could lead to difficulties for drivers. Safety groups say that if you're caught in a storm with low visibility and dangerous road conditions, you should turn up your stereo to maximum volume and make sure you are tailing the car ahead so close that they could feel your breath on the back of their necks if you didn't have windows. Of course, if you're in an Audi, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
And on a Saturday, because of these massive storms, some communities could become cut off, while damage to homes and businesses is also possible, and flash flooding could cause a danger to life. On Sunday, widespread showers and thunderstorms are expected to continue moving northwards throughout the day, but parts of the UK will experience warm weather and brighter, drier spells throughout the weekend, and that's the southeast, which you could have guessed because it's always the blooming southeast, isn't it? Of course, listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather, and I can check on that while you wait. One moment, please. Don't really see the point. We all know what I'm going to say. 1 second. Aha! Well, it's not raining at the moment. Can you believe that?
No.
It will be raining tomorrow, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and not raining next Friday and Saturday. Pfft, rubbish. It will be raining on Sunday the 27th, and the following Monday, and the Tuesday after that, and the Wednesday, and the Thursday, and every day for the rest of your lives. And for everybody else, would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, last 2 weeks of July. Unsettled at first with heavy thundery showers across the northwest. Drier and humid conditions possible at times, making it feel particularly warm in any sunshine. And then, first half of August. Summer's almost gone. Halloween toys are in the shops and Jesus' birthday cards can't be that far off. First half of August, spells of rain mixed with some drier, brighter days followed by more dry and settled weather. Temperatures will likely to continue to be above average overall, with the possibility of very warm or hot spells developing. Temperatures will likely continue to be above average overall, with the possibility of very warm or hot spells developing. We'll take it. Tariq from Chertsey says, Coldplay haven't released any singles for ages, but they created 2 last night. They created 2 last night. What are they playing at? Why put people from the audience on the Jumbotron? What's the purpose of that? I mean, they're asking for trouble. I see a lawsuit ahead. I mean, did you agree for your image to be put on the giant screen when you bought your ticket? Well, it's probably in the terms and conditions, wasn't it? It was in the terms and conditions that you agreed to, but didn't read. David in Leeds says, good evening, Nick. We remain the only country stupid enough to vote for economic sanctions on ourselves with Brexit, and some people with a straight face are saying that 16 and 17-year-olds are too stupid to be allowed to vote. Yeah. And we shouldn't be listening to those people. English youngsters have reacted to the news that Labour plan to give them the right to vote in the next election, with many admitting they don't feel mature or informed enough to have their say. That's what the Daily Mail said. That's that news again. The Mail, which is seething about the idea that even more people that don't do what the Mail tells them to do might actually go out and vote next time round, have searched high and low to find some young people that aren't interested in politics and don't mind admitting it to a newspaper that doesn't act in their interests. There, fixed it for you. Keir Starmer unveiled plans to, quotes, modernise our democracy by lowering England's voting age from 18 to 16 to bring national elections in line with those held in Scotland and Wales. Wherever they are. And, Scotland and Wales, of course, has now been added to the list of not enemies of the state, but enemies of the Fourth Estate. No! Setting an example, they are. Also voting at the age of 16 are the citizens of Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, Cuba, Austria, Nicaragua, Malta, Jersey, the Isle of Man and Guernsey. That's over 303 million people living in countries that can vote at the age of 16. All of which, last time I looked, are still functioning countries that haven't been taken over by hoodie-wearing slouches that slam the door when their parents won't buy them a new phone. And if we get the vote at 16 in this country, 1.5 million 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to cast their vote by the time the next general election comes around. And the noise being created by the usual suspects is all the indication you should need that they fear which way the young will vote, because they have made a career out of ignoring the interests of the young in favour of trying to get the old to dream wistfully of an imagined past when Britain was great and cricket was played by white men in white clothes on verdant village greens and never a bad word was spoken and the sun always shone and everyone was happy all of the time. And those same men who try and weaponise nostalgia are also the sort of cravat-wearing, mustard corduroy trouser sporting types that used to be called cads and rotters and bounders in the time that they are trying to invoke for personal gain.
I'm a nutcase.
Mentioning no names. In the early 20th century, people who were milking some older people's desire for a return to the land of their imagined youth would be called scoundrels and heels and scallywags. And they'd probably be drummed out of town and forced to take their snake oil with them. They should be grateful that we live today. when their poison doesn't stand out from the deep wells of poison that is social media.
Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government.
And what's the justification for allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote? Starmer said it's because they are old enough to go out to work, they're old enough to pay taxes, so they pay in. And I think if you pay in, you should have the opportunity to say what you want your money to be spent on and which way the government should go. Boom, mic drop. Argue against that, I double dare you. Of course, he could have said all of that verbiage in just 4 words. No taxation without representation. There you are. Summed it for you. It's quite hard to argue against that without going straight to, but they don't know anything. Well, you know, practically none of us know anything. Knowing things doesn't tend to increase with age. Becoming more prejudiced does. You tend to get less caring and concerned for others as you get older. And as you age, the more filled with hatred of those who don't look, talk, walk and squawk like you get. The younger you are, the more open you are to change. The older you get, the more closed off and inward-looking you become. In other words, the older you get, the more right-wing you are. I mean, not always. Jeremy Corbyn is as old as the dinosaurs, and he's not right-wing at all. But mostly it's true. And that's what the right-wingers are crying foul about. They want democracy, but only for people that are likely to vote for them, which isn't democracy. So there's a massive backlash coming from the right-wingers because they foresee a time when the opinion of young people might matter. And they won't be able to just rely on pensioners being angry to get votes. And if you think about it, the young are going to have to live with the consequences of a government's actions for a lot longer than pensioners will. So the opinion of the young is more valid, not less valid. But you'd expect the Reforms and the Tories being upset at such a move. Their fans would prefer the voting age was raised, not lowered. So getting Fagash or whoever is running round defending the Tories' legacy to voice their deeply held concerns won't cut it. No. Much better to try to find some young people who don't like the idea of young people having a say. And so we get articles like there was in the Mail. Speaking to the Mail online today, many youngsters revealed they wouldn't trust others their age to cast an educated or informed vote, saying the majority of 16 and 70-year-olds will likely be influenced by their parents or social media. That's what it said. And you know what? The majority of 70-year-olds will likely be influenced by their daily furious newspaper and what they heard Enid and Abbot saying in the queue at the post office. What's the difference? And the Mail found some people who, they claim, gave their opinions to the paper's reporters. Charlie, 17, from South Tyneside, said, I don't agree to it. At that age, you don't have enough education generally to be able to make informed judgments on these things. Oh, yeah. Over 60% of the adults in this country believe in fate, that their life is written and nothing they do can change it. O'Tilly, 16, said her vote would likely be influenced by social media, as opposed to 60-year-olds whose vote would be likely influenced by the Daily Mail. Samantha, 16, said her vote would be likely influenced by the opinion of her parents. Well, you know, that should delight the foamers, if it were true. Can't say that I was influenced by what my parents thought when I was 16, just the opposite. But it takes all sorts. Georgina, 17, said many of her friends are particularly swayed by fake news on social media, well, as opposed to fake news in newspapers. Meanwhile, 64-year-old James said, I don't think people at 16 should be making these decisions. That age is too young for people to know exactly what they're doing. As opposed to all those old people that voted to leave the European Union based on a tower of lies that they were gullible enough to swallow. I mean, the idea that grown-ups know better is just laughable. Did you know that 40% of the adults in this country believe in telepathy? 13% think witches are real. A third think the government is hiding the existence of extraterrestrials. 1 in 10 of us think crop circles were drawn in fields by aliens from space. half of us touch wood to ward off bad luck. How's that going, by the way?
Fabulous.
A quarter, 25% of us think horoscopes tell the truth about our future. A third think the dead can communicate with us. Over 10% think magic spells work. 40% of us think crossing your fingers brings good luck. And yet only 22% think of themselves as superstitious.
What?
40% cross their fingers for good luck, and a half of that number consider themselves superstitious. I'll sum that up for you. It's not the under-18s that we need to keep from voting, it's everyone. I mean, look at the place. This is the consequence of the vote being given freely to the over-18s. I mean, at the very least, we should give those 2 years younger a chance to undo the dismal decisions made by their elders. What a way to have run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Tim in Guildford says, Nick, whenever physician associates interact with a patient, they should follow the late Nancy Roberts' advice and use her catchphrase, "Trust me, I'm not a doctor." And I had to look up in the break who Nancy Roberts is, or was, and she variously was a writer, and a completely different person was an actress. So I don't really know which one you are referring to there, Tim. Either way,
I'm not a doctor.
he's not a doctor. Don't trust him. 0345 6060 973. Somerset. Hello, John.
Oh, hello.
John.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, John.
How are you?
I'm
okay?
great, mate. You seem surprised. You called me, remember?
I was slightly surprised then, just because I was looking at the Daily Mail online, which I never normally do, but you've given them such a plug.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd find out what I'm missing. And first of all, it says, "We're never coming back." That's about Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Hazza and Sparkles aren't coming back, really?
That's right.
I wonder why. I wonder which estate has forced them to stay away. Fourth one, I imagine.
Probably, but also it's just funny because after what you've just been saying, I don't know if I'm hearing it exactly live, but, you know, why would they want to come back?
Yeah, exactly. Why would they want to come back? Why would they want to come back here? To just be tortured and punished for something they either have or haven't done. Nobody can remember.
Absolutely. Well, it's something to do with him being ginger. We'd probably have to ask Diane Abbott about it. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, on the headline where it says "We're never coming back," it says Harry and Meghan have no plans ever to move back to Britain, despite secret peace summit. And then it shows a photograph of them not in secret. And they look like they're sat with some people outside a pub. So I'm not sure what that's about.
When is this story? Where did you read this story? What's the date on this story?
It's literally right now on the Mail Online. I literally just looked it up. It says exclusive, so it must be exclusive because it's them saying it.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at the royal section. It's no end of stories about what a dreadful person Meghan Sparkles is, and what an absolute dream is Kate. Isn't she a wonder?
And also, there's something about a gangster granny who used family to run £80 million drug empire and bought her cat designer gear is jailed.
Designer gear for a cat?
Yeah, that's her biggest crime. It's not the £80 million drug empire.
Yeah.
It's the fact that she bought her cat designer gear.
Well, what's the point of buying a cat designer gear? The cat's not going to like that. Cats don't like having things put on them. I think the cat's designer gear is for the owner of the cat, not the cat itself.
It is all very strange. Only the twisted mind of a Daily Mail columnist could even write a story like that.
Well,
I wanted to talk to you talking about the media.
That was a preamble, was it?
That was just a preamble. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you primarily about. Can I talk about the Greg Wallace thing?
I don't know why. What do you want to talk about that for? I don't really know very much about it, to be honest. I don't care about Greg Wallace. I've never watched anything with Greg Wallace in. I'm not really interested in any of the programmes he presented or anything about him or his private life. Or I just don't care. But
You've just cancelled me.
Cancelled you.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, when I said to you just then, I want to talk about the Greg Wallace thing, I thought you were going to say what thing. So I set you up. You didn't go for it. But yeah, Emily Maitlis on the newsagents programme.
Yeah.
I promise you not to use builders' language. But I was watching the newsagents the other day. I was watching it on YouTube. And they were talking about the Greg Wallace fiasco, or whatever you want to call it, and his bad behaviour. And apparently he's got a reputation for dropping his trousers and for using inappropriate language.
Okay, well, I don't know anything about this, and I'm not really that interested. And I certainly have got no clue as to what it is that you are referring to. So I think we'll just draw a line there. But thanks a lot. Here it is, that story. We're never coming back. Harry and Meghan have no plans ever to move back to Britain, despite his aides meeting the King's in-secret peace summit. And there's the picture of them in public, in secret, having a meeting. Prince has no plans ever to move back to Britain, despite recent hopes of reconciliation with King Charles, the Mail can reveal. Following news of a secret peace summit between aides of the Duke and the Duchess of Sussex, I bet if I went into the street with a clipboard and asked you who the Duchess of Sussex was, I bet you'd have not one clue. You think, which one is that? Who's the Princess of Wales at the moment? Not Di. Another one. I bet I could go down the list, and if your life depended on it, you wouldn't be able to tell me which personage fits under which title. A source who is close to Harry, 40 years old. Really? He says they're happy and living in and raising their family in California, and as it stands have no plans to leave. And on and on and on and on, and there's just endless pictures. Look, what an awful witch she is. Words to that effect. I can't stand it. 0345 6060 973. Let's have... it'd be a bit mean to go to this caller because I'll have to cut him off almost as soon as I spoke to him. So I'll come to you in just a moment, caller. Your call is important to us. Richard in Manchester says, Manchester has been full of happiness and good vibes this week with Oasis 3 gigs down out of 5. With a proper sound system and Liam's voice in fine fettle, they sound better than at any point since 1997. They still don't move around or have any charm, but the crowd's more chilled out now, and it's one of the few rock and roll options that we've got left. No, there's plenty of rock and roll options that you've got left. It's just that you don't know about them, Richard. And I'm not really the kind of person to ask about, the modern music. I'm kind of a bit stuck in the past as far as rock music goes. Like most people, tend to cling to the music of their youth. But there's no end of good stuff about, as the vast trove of treasures at Glastonbury attested to. Is there a two at the end of that sentence? Archie in Falkirk says, Nick, do you think we might see a headline soon saying Musk found dead? I wouldn't be shocked. No, neither would I. Musk found in prison and all of his fortune mysteriously gone would be another one I wouldn't be surprised to read either. Oh, boy. I mean, it's just getting so... I was about to say exciting, but it's a little bit thrilling, this whole Trump doing his nut about people going on about Epstein, as he, of course, did endlessly in the run-up to the last election. So he's painted himself into a corner now because he's been forever saying that there's something there, and now when it's time for him to actually have his people reveal what is there, then suddenly there's nothing there anymore. List? What list? On my desk? What desk? I haven't even got an office. What are you talking about? Priceless. And so all the maggots, or whatever they call themselves, they are fighting with you. They're doing the trick of the left. Wrestling each other to the floor so that the competition can just step nimbly over them. Darren in London says, did you see Trump celebrate on stage with the Chelsea team after they beat PSG? The Chelsea captain, Reece James and Cole Palmer, asked Trump to move, but he told them, no, I will be celebrating with you. Well, it was that Infantino chap. He tried to get him off stage, but Trump was not to be moved. What's he doing? I think was what Cole Palmer said.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Like to punch him in the face.
Keith in Hatfield says, Trump said this week that he is negotiating with over 200 countries. Maybe somebody should tell him there are only 195 countries in the world. You're an idiot, Donny.
Don't be rude.
Alex says, with the Trumpanzees... the Trumpanzees. That's a good one. Turning against the dear leader over weapons for Ukraine and the Epstein files, how far will Donny Gropenfuhrer go to win back their support? At the moment, he's accusing the Democrats of making it all up, as well as being the party of conspiracy theories. What a stupid idiot, he says. You're an idiot, Donny.
Don't talk to me that way. I'm the President of the United States. Don't ever talk to the President that way.
Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
How are you doing, Nick? All
Good,
right?
thanks, yes.
No, I just thinking. You know this, you kicked off by talking about the 16-year-olds getting the vote.
Yes.
We've been living with this down this neck of the woods in Wales for years.
Right, that's right.
The slightest problem.
Do they actually bother to vote? Because that's the thing. The younger you are, the less likely you are to vote. I don't know what the right-wing foamers are so upset about. Kids ain't going to vote. They just won't.
Exactly. That is the big problem. They've got lots of other things to do.
Yeah.
Voting isn't a big, but it's been happening down here then, and there's never been the slightest evidence of any interest in it for the last couple of years, and I'm sure the same story applies to Scotland. Nobody's bothered by it, And
now, do you mean that people over the age of 18 aren't bothered, or do you mean that people under the age of 18 aren't bothered to vote, or both?
People aren't worried about 16-year-olds voting. It is not a subject of conversation or interest at all in Wales.
Right.
And these 16-year-olds have been voting. Well, as you said, young people don't vote. Yeah, and that's the way it is. But interestingly, about 2-3 weeks ago, guess who came to the sixth form college in Merthyr Tydfil to talk to him? Yeah.
Fag-ass Lil, really?
Yeah, he turned up in some sort of panel there for about, an hour and moved on. So, there is this, I wouldn't say interest. Is anybody interested? But nobody's bothered about it, Nick. We get on with it, and everybody's making a huge fuss up there. There's nothing to make a fuss about.
Well, they're very concerned that young people aren't going to do what old people want them to do, in much the same way as people were freaking out about giving women the vote. Well, will they use it wisely? Will they do what we do, or will they have a mind of their own?
Yeah, well,
same thing.
Nick, the thought came in my mind this week. What about those? I can't describe them as human beings that were living in Spain and voted for Brexit.
Oh.
Now there you've got some real examples of old people voting. I mean, you can't be any more stupid than that, can you? I mean,
well, they were persuaded by a tower of lies that their lives would somehow be better. How how somebody who doesn't live in Britain would benefit from Britain leaving the European Union if they actually live in the European Union is mystifying to me. Perhaps we shouldn't have a barrier to young people voting. Maybe we should have a barrier to older people voting. Maybe after the age of, shall we say, 60 years old? Then you should have to pass some sort of cognitive test.
Well,
that's not a controversial thing to say, is it?
No. It's just that I'm sure the same thing applies in Scotland. What is the fuss all about? You know.
Well, the fuss is about the panic that young people will go out and vote en masse, and they won't vote with their elder relatives. They will vote the opposite of that. They will vote for left-wing parties because they care about others and they're open to new experiences and they're not closed off and they're not they're not disappointed with the mundanity of life and they don't yearn wistfully for some imagined idyll of their youth because this is their youth.
And let them enjoy it. Enjoy life.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Get on with it.
I mean, what strikes me is if a government acts if a government does something that is not in young people's interest, then they are going to have to live with the consequences of that for a lot longer than older people are going to have to. Like Brexit, for instance. Instance. So, they should at least have a say in something that they're going to have to suffer for longer than the people who are deciding it for them.
Yep. And you can't pick a bigger subject than Brexit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. What an absolute disaster. What a triumph for Putin. When you look back on it all, that was his high point. He destroyed the unity of Europe.
Yes,
exactly what he wanted.
If he didn't have something personally to do with the outcome, then it couldn't have gone better for him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, excellent work. Thanks a lot, Jeff. 0345 6060 973. This text says, "Hi, Nick. Studies show that our brains and personalities do not finish forming until we are 25 years old. Personally, I've met some 65 years old. Yeah, screwed it up. Sorry. Personally, I've met some 65-year-olds that have not yet started this process." There, finally got there. 0345 6060 973. Trowbridge, Andrew.
Hello, Nick. I'm phoning you up because I'm miffed.
Oh, no. What's happened?
First of all, tomorrow night my wife is off to her coven meeting.
Really? And
yes.
You're not invited?
No. It's not really my scene, to be honest.
Right.
Okay.
What if she forgets?
Also,
what if she forgets her cauldron? You could run it down to her.
They've got one already.
Oh, have they? Right.
Yes, they use it to cool down the Pims.
Gotcha.
Yes. Anyway, also, I have to use a Ouija board to contact the management of the company I work for.
Emails not your thing?
They're dead. Don't reply to emails.
Your company is being run by dead people?
Oh, yes. Brain dead people.
Oh, brain dead people. Right. Well, I'm not sure that a Ouija board is probably the best way to contact them, though, because it looks quite complicated to operate.
No, you just hit them over the head with it.
OK, well, you've thought about this a lot, Andrew, and no wonder your wife is spending time away. I sympathise entirely. No, me neither. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Simon in Bray says, living next to a stream, you would think that I would be worried about this massive downpour of water. Well, you're wrong. Since they have done the Jubilee River scheme that pushes all the water downstream, I don't have to worry. That said, the people in Wraysbury and Staines should get the sandbags out. This total disregard for other people, as long as I'm OK, makes me fit into today's society perfectly, says Simon in Bray. Teignmouth, David.
Yes, good morning. Good evening.
Not quite.
Well, not quite, but
Good morning.
I disagree with virtually everything you ever say.
David, you don't even know what time of day it is. Good morning.
Well, it's an hour away.
No,
that's the problem
isn't.
with you. That's the problem with you. You sort of snigger your way through everything and get your little acolytes phoning you up and saying how wonderful you are.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder how you actually carry on a conversation.
Well, David, I sometimes wonder why somebody who doesn't like a show as much as you hate this one listens.
It keeps the adrenaline flowing. I'm 85 now.
85.
Yeah.
Right. Happy birthday.
Well, in next 2 weeks' time, 1st of August, 85. And I was in further and higher education for 40 years.
Well, you couldn't pass the exams?
I was a lecturer, you silly sod.
Oh, right.
The number of students I had that at the age of 16 or 17 or 18 even would come up with... we had programs were mainly with an industrial release program, and they would come back and say, I would never treat the students when I become a manager in a hotel, restaurant, or whatever.
Yeah.
But when they come back and they've grown up, they say, did I say that? Because, and the other thing is that when some young person, and I admire the young people in this country, and I've always had a lot of contacts, but...
You admire the young people in this country. What a weird thing to say. Based on what? I mean, talk about a wide variety of people you seem to have an admiration for. You admire them for their youth, because that's the only thing that sticks them together.
No, it's not that. There's a variety of students in it. And I was just trying to say before you rudely interrupted me, is that when the students would come and say something irritated them when they were 16. But the other thing I was trying to say is that when over the last few months, when young people... even 14, 15 and 16 have gone off the rails a bit, and the people that excuse them say, well, of course around the age of 16 their brains are actually rewiring through pubescence and all these aspects.
But it doesn't mean to say they can't have. It doesn't mean to say that they cannot have an opinion on politics or where the future of this country lies.
Yes, but the problem is that they change within that period of time, and maturity has a value.
No, it really doesn't. I've met... No, it really doesn't, David. You mean age has a value, because maturity is not necessarily a function of age.
Well, that is true. I would accept that. But the problem is that there is a link, and when you've had more experience of life, that you come up with different solutions. Or
David, it's not very complicated. There's a limited number of parties to vote for. You just vote for the party that you find most attractive, or the one that is the least bad option.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm not arguing that, but things are changing rapidly at the moment with the political structure within this country, whereas a few years ago it was just three. Labour, Conservative and Lib Dems. But now there's a lot on the edges of it, and there are more probably coming through.
Well, what difference does that make? They can still make a decision.
Yes, but it's things are changing, and
things always change. What are you talking about, man? You have admiration for the youth, but you don't want them to have a say in the future of the country.
I think they're not mature enough to understand all the implications.
Well, then,
of what
David, some people are too old to understand the implications, or to care, really, because they won't have to live with the consequences of their actions.
But age in many other countries where the more stable societies like Singapore and places like that, age is revered. Now is the opposite in this country.
What has that got to do with what we're talking about?
Well, you're saying that old people... You were saying earlier, before I came on, that there should be a review whether they should be allowed to...
Thank you for agreeing with me.
No, I'm not agreeing with you. I said you said that. Not quite the same thing.
Yes,
Anyway.
so, and you thought that I was entirely serious when I said that?
Well, one never knows with you.
Right. Again, if you dislike this show as much as you pretend to, David, then I would tune off. I would go and spend what little time you've got left on this earth doing something more constructive, something that you actually enjoy. Unless you are determined to be angry and irate for the rest of your time, in which case carry on carrying on. But and I won't hold you back. Go now before it's too late. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Heather and Lee says, Nick, did you see Trump pocket himself a Football Club World Cup medal? Yeah, I did, yes. So now he's a footballing world champion as well as a golfing champion. Don't write him off for the gold medal for the 100-metre breaststroke at the Olympics next year. The breaststroke, yes. Yeah, I think that's about right, yeah. I think that would be Donny's preferred event, yes.
I will be so great to women. I cherish women.
Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the age of voting, which the skier wants to drop to 16, thereby discombobulating the aged. If 16-year-olds can vote, then the 86-year-olds very, very upset about it. Like that last chap. He has a tremendous admiration for the youth, so he said, but he doesn't want them to vote because, their brains are not fully formed. Well, I bet they know what time of day it is. It's not the morning yet, Grandad. Robin in New Forest says, evening, Nick. Any news on when Trump is visiting the UK? I have a strong policy which I adhere to very strongly of maintaining a minimum 3,000 miles social distance from the Tangerine Twitler. I will need to book my escape flight as soon as dates are announced. I thank you in advance. Yeah, thank you for your attention to this matter. Where did that come from, by the way? Suddenly he's ending all of his demented missives with thank you for your attention to this matter. As though somebody has told him that makes it seem more, I don't know, sane?
Don't be rude.
I don't know why he's putting that on there, other than it's just another distraction. But usually what is the contents of that missive is distraction enough. Have you heard that he's shouting at Coca-Cola now? I'll come to that in a minute. Clive in Sydney says, thank goodness it's almost August here in Sydney. It's been in single figures for 3 months. Bring on daily 50-degree centigrade days. Oh, no. It's been way too muggy lately, hasn't it? I don't know about where you live or what time of day it is where you live. But it's just been stifling. So I think a little bit of rain would be quite nice. Just a bit, and then we can go back to the hot, hot heat, at least for another month. Are you with me? This says, Nick, I went to school in the 1970s. We did political studies. Maybe they need to bring that back. Yeah, I think kids are really switched on, but they're switched on not for things that old geezers are obsessed about. They're switched on about, the future of the planet, for instance. So they might be considering voting for the Greenies. Groovy. The groovy Greenies. Or they might be persuaded to put a cross next to the Lib Demers. Because I think one of the things that the Lib Demers have said is that they should be able to choose what it is that they stick in their mouth and set light to.
Want to score some pot?
So they might think about that. No end of things that concern the young that they would wish to have an opinion about. Well, they do already have an opinion. It's just that nobody's paying any attention. But give them the vote and they will. This says, Nick, if the 16 and 17-year-olds who don't feel mature enough to vote just don't do so, surely that's no bad thing. If those who feel enfranchised by it do so, though. Wow, that is a complicated sentence. Shall I read that again?
No.
If the 16 and 17-year-olds who don't feel mature enough to vote just don't do so, surely it's no bad thing if those who feel enfranchised by it do so, though. I need to lie down. I need to lie down in a cigarette. Whew, I am exhausted. There's more. There's actually more.
Oh, no.
And it ends, not like everyone who's of age is forced to vote. Correct amundo. That's right. It's not enforced, but it should be. It should be the law that everybody who can vote, votes. Otherwise, there'll be some sort of penalty. If they can do it in Australia, then we can do it here. 0345 6060 973. Pimlico. Hello, Darryl.
Hello. Nice to speak with you. I just want to say that everybody seems to think that that Trump is going to give arms now to Ukraine, but he's not. He says he wants to sell his arms to NATO and let NATO give them to Ukraine. So he's actually not giving anything away at all, but he's making money. He wants to make money out of the situation.
Well, that sounds like Donald Trump. I'm not familiar with that, but right. Yeah. So he's going to sell them to NATO.
To NATO, and then tell NATO to give it to Ukraine.
Right, mark it up and sell it on.
Yeah. Imagine the con.
Yeah. Well, I'd be surprised if it was any other way. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have one more thing to say.
Yes.
I think, though, that he does actually make sense when it comes to talking about European countries in NATO, so they haven't been paying their dues,
right.
and yet they expect America to come along and bail them out if anything goes wrong.
Well, I think that, yes, there's something to be said for that, but the other side of it is that when America pays their dues, it's not actually it's not as pious as that. What they're actually doing is transferring an enormous amount of wealth from the poor to the industrial military complex. They're not doing us a favour by doing that. They're paying massive amounts, billions and billions and billions of dollars to the people that make the bullets and the guns and the things that go bang.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Darryl. See, Darryl knows what time it is. This says, Nick, you called it again. Comedians being sued or arrested. Not quite yet, but The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has just been axed after CBS settled a $16 million lawsuit with Trump or Thinskin. Coincidence? I think not, says that texter. Yeah, I told you. Let me see if I can... I don't think there's anything... Oh, there's a couple of things that he hasn't done yet. I know I'm off mic in a minute, but I'm going to have to find my Donald Trump bingo card, because almost everything that I predicted has actually happened. One moment, please. I'll sing a song while you wait. Well, I'll hum one. Your call is important to us. An operative knows you are waiting. We will be with you shortly. Hang on. Oh, it's too far down the pile. Look at this, I've got about 36,000 different... Oh, here we go. Halfway down, just as I suspected. My Trump bingo card. So far, have the army or the police or whoever shoot into crowds of protesters. Now, I do believe that he has done that, but they haven't been live rounds yet. Message coming in from next door. Do you want me to invest in a folder for you? Sarcastic. Have the army or the police or whoever shoot into crowds of protesters. Well, that has actually happened, but it hasn't been live rounds yet, but you can still get killed by a rubber bullet. Have a military parade in his honour. Yes, well, he has absolutely done that. Appear on stage in military uniform. Not yet, but he will. Arrest judges. Tick. Arrest journalists. Absolutely. Close down news sites that tell the truth about him. He's in the process of closing down just such a thing. NPR, National Public Radio. Arrest comedians who mock him. Well, I'm not sure that he's arrested any yet, but the next one is close down TV outlets that make fun of him. And the late-night talk show hosts do exactly that. They make fun of him for a living. And now I think it's the number one rated late-night talk show, or it was for quite a while there. Stephen Colbert, his contract is not being extended, just as CBS is trying to merge with, I don't know exactly who is merging with who, but CBS is joining forces with some other company, and it has to have the approval of Trump or Thin-Skin. And it may be a complete coincidence that the person at CBS who makes the most fun of Donald Trump is not having his contract renewed. He's going to shut at least one newspaper. Tick. Fire professors who teach the truth. Yes. Enrich individuals and companies that give him money. Well, he's absolutely done that. Arrest and convict citizens without trial. Yes. Show executions on national media. Well, he hasn't done that one yet. Oh, my goodness me. Getting very, very carried away. So I'm only halfway through. Look at the time. I don't know what time it is. 0345 6060 973. You should have seen my glamorous assistant next door was trying to bring my attention to the time, which is ticking away. And it was a beautiful sight. Well, it was actually quite an alarming sight. He was waving his arms in the air like he just didn't care. Almost as though he was not listening to this show. He was listening to the best of the village people. Frightening. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy. I'm not a big fan of his brain.
0345 6060 973. Adam in Thwing. He's a thwinger. He says, I see Trumpalumpa is displaying some unusual symptoms on his little hands. Apparently it's down to all those handshakes that he's having to do, says Adam. Very, very small and tiny, weird little hands.
Don't be rude.
This says, Nick, you called it again. Oh, no, I read that one. Comedians being sued or arrested. Yeah, Stephen Colbert. I mean, that show makes, it makes less than it used to right now, but it's something of the order of $230 million a year. So it's not a disaster. And he's one of the better ones. It's odd that I guess it's not odd, but we've never been able to replicate that in this country because America's got no end of late-night talk show hosts and the format's the same. It's been the same since Johnny Carson. There was a guy before Johnny Carson. I can't remember what his name was. But then it was David Letterman, famously, for ages. And now there's about sort of 4 or 5 of them. And it's usually the very same show. They've got a band and they've got a sidekick and they come out and they do a monologue and then do some sketches or whatever and be silly. Because it's for, a post-pub audience. It's late at night. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be intelligent fare. And then a star will come on and they'll chit-chat for 10 minutes and then that'll be it. And we've tried several times to do that kind of thing here and it just doesn't work. And I think for 2 reasons. One, we haven't got the stars. I mean, America's got no end of actors and, famous people, and we have very, very few that you would actually want to hear sitting down and talking for a while. And second, we just don't invest in writers. And it's the problem with British comedy all over. We hire 1, 2 people tops, and then we squeeze the funny out of them, which usually lasts about 6 episodes of a programme, and then that's it. But in America, you look at the writing credits on any comedy show, and there'll be 12 people just writing jokes that last for 10 minutes, per program. And that's the reason why it just doesn't work here, because we refuse to pay for the writers. I wonder what they do in Canada. Hello, Nick.
No, hi there, Nick.
Do they have that?
I don't know. I don't watch Canadian television. We just watch American TV.
Oh, right. Okay. So
They did try a few years ago.
who is your late night guilty pleasure?
Actually, I don't have one. I kind of stopped watching TV about 10 years ago for some reason. I just don't have the patience for it.
Well, what do you do in all of that acres of spare time?
Right now I go ride my bike at night because it's too hot to ride it during the daytime. So I'm likely to be riding my bike, listening to my little Bluetooth speaker.
Oh, no.
The only ones, another girl on the planet.
No, don't do that. You have to have your wits about you when you're on a bike. That always amazes me when I see people cycling around with their headphones on. I mean, you won't be able to hear danger before it's too late.
No, I would agree with you. I don't have headphones. I don't wear headphones. I have a tiny little speaker that sits on my handlebar, which is my sort of boomer equivalent of the transistor radio that I had when I was 16.
I'm not sure that's
when
any
I would
better.
be listening to John Peel.
Yeah, that's worse.
Actually, it is.
Because you inflict your pleasure on other people.
Well, they need to learn to listen to decent music. They ought to.
Okay. Anyway,
but I was ringing up about the 16-year-olds getting the vote thing.
Right.
I did want to point out that because you only have elections every 3 or 4 years, well, in theory, I mean, clearly the last Conservative administration was a little different. But normally you have an election every 4 years. It doesn't mean that every 16-year-old is going to get to vote. In fact, a tiny proportion of 16-year-olds will get to vote.
Right.
You know, of the 16-year-olds that are alive right now, if you change the law, at most 25% of them would get to vote statistically, assuming that they all showed up. What this would do really is mean that more 18-year-olds get to vote, because right now, very few 18-year-olds get to vote either. The chances of you getting to vote when you're 18 is blindingly small, quite frankly, because it's every 4 years. The reality is you don't get guaranteed a vote until you're 22.
Yeah, it's worse than that because it's every 5 years.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking 4 years. Yes. I mean, then even worse. The reality is if you brought in votes for 16-year-olds, what you're really doing is just making sure more 18 and 19-year-olds get to vote. That's the main difference that this would make, because right now, most of them don't.
Yes. I was trying to look up the demographics of who voted or who said that they voted in the last election, and I couldn't find it. I was trying to compare it and contrast it to the young people in the local elections in Wales and in Scotland to see whether there was a correlation to being allowed to vote early and then subsequently voting in later life. And I think that there may be, because if you get the habit of voting when you're early, then it's quite likely that you will continue to vote in later life. But if you don't get that habit early, because, you know, when you're at university, you're more likely to be in places where you don't have much history, where your address isn't sort of nailed down, and that becomes difficult to register to vote. But if you're living with your parents, then your address is fairly stable, and you know what your address is going to be when the election comes up. So I think if you get into the habit of voting then it is more likely that you will make an effort when you're at uni or, you know, just starting out in work, that you will vote subsequently. And it's important that more people vote, because if you don't vote, then your aged grandparents, whose opinions you can't stand around the Christmas table, they're going to decide your future. They're going to decide your future for you.
This is true, although I would say there's a possibility that will work in reverse. If 16-year-olds, because they're maybe a little less tuned in, although as a foster parent, I will say this: 16 is about the age when my kids start thinking about the future. You could see it in them. I typically work with kids that have addiction issues, don't go to school. 16 is when they start to go, oh, I really should be going to school, shouldn't I? You can see those sort of stupid moves they started doing at 12 or 13 start to turn around a bit. That's when I basically start doing my work with them, when they hit 16 or 17, because they do start to realize, oh, I've got a whole life ahead of me. I can't just spend the next 60 years around the back of the bike shed getting high with my mates. But I will say this: if 16-year-olds don't vote at 16, like if they're not voting at 16, it might actually have the opposite effect, that you might have less people voting because they just kind of get into the habit of not voting just as much as they would if they were a little older and a little more mature. When they got their vote, they would take it, but at 16 they might go, this got better things to do. I'm going to a gig.
I don't think that
I get into that habit.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I know what you're saying, but I don't think that's a thing. I think giving people the option to vote early will encourage more of them to vote than those who obviously would vote if they couldn't. Does that make sense?
I would
almost.
Yeah, no, and I would hope so, and also just generally the outcome of the election affects these people. Anybody that's affected by the outcome of an election should have some say in it, I think.
Yeah.
That's why I don't vote in Britain, even though I could, because nothing that happens in Britain affects me. I'm a British citizen. I have a vote in Britain. I never use it because it wouldn't be fair. But it's completely unfair that my nephew, who's 15, is going to get affected by an election that he has no say.
I don't know. I think that living in Canada, you are affected by Britain because you're still, a part of us, although at some distance away. And what we do in this country does have an effect, and that's been noticeable from our reaction to Donald Trump insisting that Canada become the 51st state.
I mean, economically, no. Nothing that Britain does has any economic effect on Canada. I mean, trust me, I'm having to buy cream crackers from Malta these days because I can't get Jacobs anymore for some reason. I don't know why. I have to go to a specialist cheese shop and buy imported Maltese cream crackers so that I can enjoy my brie and my roquefort.
You're still getting French cheese then. Good to know. All right, thanks a lot, Nick. This text says 15-year-olds can vote in the Tory memberships, so much hypocrisy from them. Yes, 15-year-olds can take part in the leadership race of the Conservative Party, thereby, in recent memory, electing our Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Scotland's Wales says this. Scotland's Wales. Scotland's Wales have 16-year-olds vote, and those countries have not failed as much as the Brexit vote. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I understand all those words, but just not in the order that you've used them. Alex in Wimbledon says, I would say I'm against the lower voting age, as a few years ago, very few of my friends were mature enough. But then I realised that now, as an 18-year-old, very few of my friends are mature enough. I suggest changing the voting age to between the ages of 30 and 31, says Alex. Yes. No. And this says, it's great. Some of those old-fashioned, bigoted parents will be challenged by the young who want to create a bright future, not a whiter future. By Jove, I think they've got it.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
This text says, I saw one right-wing commentator saying that 16-year-olds should not be able to vote because they aren't old enough to buy alcohol. And that right there may explain a great deal about right-wing voting, says that texter. Yeah, they're drunk.
Booze.
And this says, the good old days in the UK, beef, drip-in sandwiches and 3 TV channels. The kids these days, it's all avocado dance routines. Cornwall. Hello, Malcolm.
Good evening, Nick. How are you, sir?
Yes, very good.
I'm amazed at the number of callers being attracted to your programme who subscribe to, was it the Telegraph or the Mail? They're rare.
Both.
They're as rare as hen's teeth, aren't they?
Yes. Well, you mean the Venn diagrams don't intersect? People who listen to this show and people who subscribe to the Mail and the Telegraph.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, voting. Oh, first of all, though, did you have on your bingo card that a certain president would sue a certain media mogul?
No, I did not. No.
No, that's when you missed, mate, wasn't it?
I know, I missed that one big time. Well, who could have seen that coming? But, I mean, there are a few more on the list. I just kind of ran out of time because I don't know what time it is. And they include, but are not limited to, showing executions on national media, He'll stay in office after the full term. He is absolutely not leaving. I don't know why anybody pretends otherwise. He'll have portraits of himself posted in all schools and government buildings. Well, I think the government buildings part has already happened. I'm not sure about schools, although there are some lickspittles who want his photograph in every school classroom. That has actually already been suggested. He's going to attack degenerate art, and that's a very important word to listen out for, degenerate, which I think he's done already. He's going to insist that all government buildings will be built in classical Roman style, and he's already made that edict. He'll have an airport named after him. He wants his face carved in Mount Rushmore. Somebody's already suggested that, I've looked at it, and there's room. He'll have his face on money. He'll bring down a plane carrying an enemy over America, and he'll introduce a state of emergency, and that will prevent any further elections from happening. Those last ones haven't actually occurred yet.
The meat-eating, long-toothed reptiles of the non-swamp, so to speak, they are literally starting to eat each other, and it was always inevitable it was going to happen.
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised, because I thought that they joined a cult and that they were always going to be in, to show fealty to the dear leader. But they don't like this at all from him, pretending that, saying that there's no list, there's no files. What files? What list? There's no list. The very thing that he's been telling them that he was going to release. If only you put me in power, I'm going to release this list, and it's going to have all these Democrats on it. And then when he could do it, suddenly it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, the problem is, Nick, it's all about self-gratification and self-enrichment. And the selves, they're all starting to come up against... And I said it to you a little while ago, that the 18 months to 2 years between Trump taking up office and the midterms was not a long time. It wasn't long enough.
No.
For comfort, and it's getting very, very close now. We're almost coming up to a year before the midterms, and that is when America, I think, the great big beautiful bill will have kicked in.
Not quite. I mean, they've been quite evil and clever in making the first consequences of this BBB actually happen either just immediately before the midterm elections or just after. But worrying about what is going to happen in the midterm elections does imply that you think they're going to have them. I'm not sure.
Oh, yes. Well, no. Well, look, you didn't get the president suing the media mogul, did you? And I'm giving you another one. And it's breaking news.
Yes.
There's going to be midterms, and there's going to be a presidential election in 3 years' time. No question about it.
Right. I very much doubt it. Either that, or it will be it will be fixed, like he has. He's already told us. I won't need your votes after this. It's going to be fixed, he said, on stage to a group of Christian nationalists.
But the person he was hoping it would do it has gone, so that plan is out the window as well. But the actual reason I rang was on a similar theme, and it was, and it includes the voting at 16, and it's this. Starmer and Britain is starting to look a little bit like America in that. Remember when we used to talk about Trump and, there's a phrase, throwing out the chow.
Throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Is that what you mean?
The Trump used to put out so many stupid stories.
Oh, chaff. Yes.
Chaff, right?
It's like what helicopters and planes. It's what helicopters and planes throw out, so that an incoming missile goes after that.
Which one to go for? Yeah. So, but he was throwing out all this stuff to confuse the media. So each media arm would go out and investigate one story.
Yes.
Or want it to be.
They call it flooding the zone.
The zone, yeah. Now, when you think about things happening in Britain, we are such a troubled nation now after 14 years of the Tories. There is so much gone wrong and going wrong. And as you very, very perceptively said a while ago, Labour will be taking the blame within 3 months. And
yes.
You know,
it was way before 3 months. It was in 3 days they were blamed for the state of the nation.
Well, that's fair enough because it's been a year now. But my point is this. There is so much happening. And there was a commentator earlier who was speaking about Starmer loving foreign affairs because it takes him away from home or domestic affairs. And there's so much truth in that. But the problem is, if he doesn't start to pay attention to what's happening at home soon, I think, you know, it's a slippery slope. And the votes for 16-year-olds, never have I ever known so many old men generally worrying and so concerned about children. and they are so afeard of children.
Yeah.
It really warms the cockles of my heart.
Yes.
And it's especially in two parties. And
Yeah.
I think...
Well, it's whoever is running the Tories at the moment. I challenge you to recall the name of the person. I mean, you probably will, because, you submerge yourself in this soup. But I bet if I went out in the street with a clipboard and asked who was the leader of the Conservative Party, I bet most people wouldn't have any idea.
Now, I reckon 50%... I reckon 50% of the nation would, so that blows that one out the water.
Well, 50%, that's half. 50% is almost half, Malcolm,
but that's,
statistically speaking.
Okay, that's why I said 51's the majority, isn't it? So, but the point is, Nick, 16 to 17 and 18-year-olds, right? These individuals, they're not kids. They are about to make the biggest jump in their lives.
Yeah.
And Labour are so smart doing this because it's when those kids, as the oldies would call them, when it hits them, we've got the vote now, and guess what? An election is coming. Nobody learns as well as a young person, Nick. When it affects them, and when they realise, hang on, we could affect tax policy, we could affect education policy, we could affect all of our rights, we could affect Europe.
Yeah, the ability to go and live where we want and fall in love with who we want and all of the rest of that good stuff.
Yeah, now look, they may not vote. All of these, and they reckon it could add about 9 million people to the voting register, right? That's a lot of people. Now, not all of them, or even a majority, Nick, may vote for Labour.
Let's say 10%.
But a huge number will.
Yes.
And the rest will divide among all the other parties. So as long as Labour gets their share, it's a zero-sum game. So Starmer will be thinking, this makes old people scared. Let's make old people scared. He's famous for making old people scared, isn't he?
Well, some old people, yeah. I mean, some old people have been whipped up into feeling scared about something that's not going to affect them one way or the other. But that's oily charlatans.
He doesn't scare me, Nick, because he doesn't scare me because he'll pass. So I reckon we'll have a new Labour leader for the next election.
Okay, yeah, I know. You said that before. You're going to have to start your own bingo card, Malcolm, but thanks for that. Excellent work. 0345 6060 973. Helen in Hertford texts, "Evening, Nick. If you're big enough and ugly enough to sign up for the army in the UK at 16 and risk dying for your country, surely you have the right to vote. Rock on, dude," says Helen.
Rock and roll!
This text says, "I can confirm what you said is true. The older I've got, the more selfish, closed off, judgmental and all-round gammonish I've become. And lately I've been dabbling in a bit of astrology and horoscopes. I really shouldn't be anywhere near a voting booth." And Susan in Embra says, "I'm in a minority, pushing 68 and still left-wing, a socialist all my life, so there. But I agree with you generally," says Susan. Is this more? More of the same thing. I, as in yes. Us here in progressive Scotia gave 16 to 17-year-olds the right to vote 9 years ago. When we need to go much further for democracy to really matter, I think. Voting in general elections should be mandatory. It works in Australia. That's right. turnout is abysmal in all 4 nations here. Why are they so scared of making this change? Well, any change politicians don't like the sound of because there may be negative consequences which will be pinned on them by the press, which is why nothing changes much. They'd rather sit and suffer rather than take the opportunity to change something, because if somebody is affected negatively by that change, then the politician who instituted it will be blamed for it. And there will be a chorus of everywhere they go. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Thanks, Nige. You're the best. Hey, kids.
Don't vote for reform. It's dangerous. They're a mad, bad, far-right, racist party.
This text says, if you say so, Nige, I guess you'd know. He says, I watched Get Back, the Beatles documentary this week, and in it they read out the made-up headlines telling how they had been fighting. It's obviously nonsense. Newspapers have been making things up and it hasn't changed in 50 years. That's right. It's called journalism. Wembley Park. Christoph.
Hi, Nick. Yes. I maybe deceived your glamorous assistant a little bit because I realised that I want to talk mainly about Scotland.
Yes.
Although, in a way, related to what I told him I'm going to talk about. I happened to swing by Glasgow on the 5th of July for a few hours, and I...
Swing by?
Yes. I bet you can tell me what the weather was like.
Raining.
It did rain.
Raining.
Yeah.
Of course it did. All over you.
But I must say Scotland is a fabulous place.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, you know roughly where I live. And the people are just so amazingly helpful and friendly.
Helpful?
Yeah, I mean, just an example, we wanted to find something in the Boots pharmacy, and we approached the lady at the counter, asked her where it was. She told us where it was, so we went over to where it was. And when she had no other customers to deal with, she kind of strolled over and started helping us to find it. I just don't think that sort of thing would happen here. It probably...
I think it does, yeah.
Maybe it does.
But, that sort of thing happens outside of... I was going to say major cities, but Glasgow is, of course, a major city. But I think the less busy people are, the more inclined they are to give you their time. In the same way that if you pass somebody on a country road, then it would be odd if you didn't acknowledge them in some way. But if you pass somebody on Oxford Street, it would be odd if you did.
Yes. Just moving on. You talking about late night talk shows.
What were you after in Boots, by the way?
Oh, it's plasters.
Oh, right.
Plasters, yeah. Sandal bite.
Oh.
Cure for that.
You're not one of those people that wears socks with sandals, are you?
I am. I don't wear. I don't actually wear wearing sandals. It's another member of the family who wears sandals, and it's because that member of the family doesn't wear socks that they get sandal bite.
Right. Okay then.
You see, so there is a good reason for wearing socks.
I suppose
if you wear sandals,
yeah. but there is, rather than a good reason to wear socks with sandals, it's a good reason not to wear sandals. I think you'll find that is correct.
I agree with you there. But getting on to talk late night talk shows. I mean, the reason that I think that the late night talk shows don't really do well in this country is because we're all looking forward to listening to your show.
No, in America they're on every night.
I know.
And we've never been able to even do one a week really successfully. Never mind about one a night, because they just don't hire writers.
But getting back to Scotland,
yes.
When I was there, I kind of reflected. I already talked about the people, and they really have immense reason to be proud of their country when you think what contributions they have made to Western culture.
Well, they invented everything.
Steam engine.
Yeah.
There's James Clerk Maxwell, his equations for electromagnetism. There's Alexander Graham Bell. I think he came from Scotland. He invented his telephone in America, but and all kinds of other things, all sorts of engineering feats. And And recently, the high-class lawyer, George Conway, he's the one who introduced E. Jean Carroll to the lawyer that sued Trump. He mentioned Scotland as being a country that started giving people free education. There's the religious establishment in Scotland. So, anyway, great country, great place.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me, Christoph. I grew up there. They invented the Scots invented the television and the telephone. They invented the flush toilet, without which life would barely be worth living.
In fact,
they invented the refrigerator. You believe that?
The guy who invented the bicycle, he was called Kirkpatrick Macmillan. I don't know if he was Scottish, but certainly a Scottish kind of name, isn't it?
It certainly is. Kirkpatrick Macmillan, credited with inventing the pedal-driven bicycle. They also invented the threshing machine and lime cordial.
And as well as iron brew. I mean, look.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
But now, the funny thing is, the thing I kind of really want to talk about was the age at which you can do things.
Right.
I did a bit of background reading before coming on this call.
Homework.
And it amazed me that when even Aggie Chambray got this wrong. She said, if you can get married at the age of 16, why shouldn't you be allowed to vote? And it turns out it's only in Scotland that you can get married at the age of 16, whether your parents agree to it or not. And in England and Wales, actually raised the age at which you could get married in 2023.
Yes. Well, that's why Gretna Green is just over the border. Well, it's not why it's just over the border, but it's a location for people to escape and get married there, because it's just right there.
Yeah, but wasn't that more to do with having to get marriage licenses and all that sort of thing? Is it really the 16 thing? Because you could still get married with age of consent of your parents. But they eliminated that because sort of some South parents with daughters of South Asian heritage were marrying their daughters off to people. Yeah, and so they raised up to 18. But it sort of made me think that if you can vote at the age of 16, why shouldn't you be allowed to vape, smoke, drink alcohol, gamble, etc. at that age? If people considered mature enough to vote,
well, I think it's different because those are sort of medical interventions, aren't they? I mean, there's a reason why it's not a good idea for somebody who is still whose brain is still developing to get hooked on tobacco, for instance, or alcohol.
Gambling?
Yeah, no, I don't think that they should be able to gamble. Well, I don't think that gambling should exist, but I think it should, the age should be raised, not lowered.
Yeah, but how I think my main argument for not lowering the voting age, it's not a great argument, but I think it's the only really valid one that I could come up with, is that it's irreversible. Once you've done it, you can't really put it back. Yeah, you can't really put it back up again if it proves to be a disaster.
Well, in what manner would it be a disaster? How would a disaster ensue?
I'm not suggesting a disaster would ensue. I'm just saying that if it proved to be a disaster, you couldn't re-raise it.
Well, perhaps that's right, but I don't understand how you would class it as a disaster. What would have to happen for it to be considered a disaster?
I told you my argument wasn't a very strong one, but I think it's the only valid one.
Right. Well, I think
the other ones about maturity and education and all that sort of thing, they're arguments that, in my view, don't really hold
Well, they're
water.
opinions, aren't they? But people will say, well, if you're not allowed to decide whether you can smoke or not. I mean, I've heard that argument when I was listening to some politicians yakking on about this, and one of them said, well, if they're not considered grown up enough to know whether they can smoke or not, or they want to smoke or not, then they shouldn't be able to vote.
But Nick, isn't it terrible how in this country we had such a weird psychology towards other people's children? I mean, the right-wing press mainly encourages us to have contempt for everybody else's children, and yet we're supposed to kind of be devoted parents and make sure we bring up our own children, really well to be good citizens, but we must therefore also have contempt for everyone else's children. It's just weird.
Insufferable oiks.
It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, that's all I want to say for tonight.
All right, it sounds like you said it. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Christoph. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Nick, I finally caved in and bought an air fryer this week, and my chicken and chips were superb. Poor little chucks. A big, crispy upgrade. Sadly, no one talks about the cleaning part. It's literally like having to clean the oven, which I've never cleaned, every time that I use it. Well, kind of. It's smaller, and if you clean it every time you use it, then it's not like you've got to scrape 10 years' worth of grime off the inside of it. But I do disagree about the crispy upgrade part, because my air fryer, which is not a cheap one exactly, is rubbish at chips. It cannot do them. It's extremely annoying. I've tried everything. I've tried parboiling. I've tried parboiling and then scratching the surface and then covering them with oil and then putting them in there. And I've tried using very, very little oil and quite a lot of oil. And I've tried putting them in at maximum heat and then at low heat, and nothing works. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Who's been waiting the longest? Southsea. Hello, Paul.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Paul.
I saw Rory Bremner recently at Richmond Theatre.
Oh, yeah.
A fabulous impressionist. I know some of your listeners won't quite believe this, especially Jen, but his Donald impression was even better than yours. I was just staggered. Absolutely staggered.
Well, he is a trained professional. I would expect it to be.
That is true. That is true. Nick, he was saying that Trump's mother had hair like an orange swirl. So that apple didn't have far to fall from the tree.
Right.
For sure.
I've only seen a black and white picture of his mother, so I can't attest to the validity of that statement.
You need to search a bit further.
Right.
I did find it somewhere.
Okay.
Although it looks as if it's been adapted.
Colourised. Yeah,
absolutely. Have you been to Richmond Theatre before?
No.
It's one of the most beautiful I've visited. Really amazing.
Is it?
The work of Frank Matcham, apparently.
Who's that?
Well, he designed loads of theatres. I think our local one at King's Theatre in Southsea, a lot of the London ones, the big London ones, he designed as well.
Oh, really?
Quite an interesting man. Have a read. Well, I know you don't like homework, but...
No. Where is Richmond Theatre? Is it by that big roundabout that Kew Road goes off of?
It might be. I don't know Richmond too well because I've travelled down. But it's like down a street that you'd never know about.
Oh,
one
right.
of the back streets.
Right, not what I'm thinking of then. Richmond Theatre. No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah, really lovely. But, I mean, you could smell the money in there. It was
yes.
$4.95 for an ice cream.
Wow. Well, I went through Richmond just the other day on my way to Kew, and I popped into a deli and asked for a piece of... Because they didn't really have very much to take away, but what they did have was quite a nice-looking quiche. And so I had a piece of quiche, and it was, and I kid you not, £9.80.
What?
£9.80 for a small piece of quiche.
Oh, my word. That's incredible.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought I prepared myself for quite a bill, and I think I did quite well in not reacting to the amount that he told me it was. He just proffered the machine for me to tap my card on, and I did it without actually reacting.
I mean, you should have been offered a seat for that price.
Well, yeah, exactly, and a bottle of wine. Yeah, you're right.
My ring finger is on the improve, Nick. I've got a splint now, and it is excellent. And the physio's given me exercises.
Oh yeah. Your finger. Which finger is it?
Yeah, it's my ring finger. I phoned you a few weeks back, and I think somebody said something about a massage and
yes,
some other thing. But no, the splint is good, and the physio's advice.
So it's not this finger that I'm holding up. It's the other one. Just checking. Thanks a lot, Paul.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hot air.
Hey, Shorty, AIR.
Paul in Manchester says, how can we admit we're not politically educated enough to vote at 16, but fail to realise when we become adults who aren't politically educated enough? Did I screw that up? I think I did. But I should have been, but failed to realise we then become adults who aren't politically educated enough. Lee in Norwich says, last week you said that you throw your food waste in with the normal rubbish. You can freeze your food waste and then chuck it in the correct bin on collection day. No smell, no flies. Wow. My mind is blown.
Yowza.
How come I'd never thought about that before? You can freeze your rubbish. That's a, hesitate to say it, good idea. I mean, I'm trying to think of how that wouldn't work. But that's not bad. Because the weather lately is just, you open your food waste bin and just clouds of flies escape from it. And you think, oh, okay, I give in. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't care if the planet does die. Alan says the Daily Mail is actually more reliable than social media because you know that the Mail is always wrong, while social media can either be right or wrong, says Alan. 0345 6060 973. Woolwich. Ian.
Hello.
Yes, Ian.
Hello, yeah. It was about the voting age being changed.
Yes.
In my opinion, I think that should have been done a long time ago, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm 52 now. I was the class of 84 or 89, so I had Thatcher. But, I mean, when I was 15, we talked openly about Neil Kinnock, poor old Kinnock, and Thatcher. And it was, but the reason I was phoning it was something I heard was quite disturbing earlier on, was about the TikTok thing, where they said Nigel Farage has got more TikTok supporters than all the others combined. And that's scary, because they're 13 now. Yes. In 4 years, by the time we vote, they're going to be over to vote. You see what I mean? So that might backfire on them a little bit. That's all I was thinking.
Maybe, yes. I think Nigel Farage has more TikTok voters than anybody else because nobody else is concentrating on TikTok like he does.
That's true. That's true.
It's not really much to crow about, but yes. And he's obviously doing it not because he feels one with the kids, but because he sees where the future is, and if you can get them early, then you got them for life.
Exactly. If you can corrupt them now, then by the time they cut the voting age, then, well, I don't know. I mean, when I was at school, it was like I said, 84, 89, it was Thatcher versus Kinnock. So it wasn't much of a battle, really, because he didn't keep loot. I felt sorry for the man, but...
sorry for him. Well, I think when I was a youth and Margaret Thatcher was in power, I didn't feel sorry for anybody. I just felt absolutely furious about Margaret Thatcher, as did everybody that I knew.
Well, that's the thing that I'm saying, but we were actually politically aware.
Yes.
Back then.
Exactly,
so
yes.
I don't see why it'd be different today.
Right, we certainly knew what we didn't like, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Ian. Hey, by the way...
Please don't vote for me. Thank you.
OK. No probs. Avril in Edinburgh says, happy Friday, Nick. The other night I was watching the news and heard about Kew Gardens' upcoming 5-year amazing renovation of their tropical palm house. The first thing that popped into my head was, I wonder what Nick will think of this. What do you think, Nick? Avril, I heard this story this week from so many people who have been telling me about it. And I first heard about it when I was sitting about 10 feet away from it in Kew Gardens. My phone went bing, and in came a story from the other side of the world that said almost exactly that. Yeah, Nick, have you heard about the palm house? They're shipping the plants out, and they're going to, lick a paint. Look lovely. Well, it certainly does need some attention because it's rusting inside. So, I mean, it needs to be saved and preserved better than it is at the moment, and the glass is filthy, so that probably needs to get changed. And they did change the temperate house They took all of the plants out and put new plants, mostly new plants, in. And what was brilliant about it was, if you go into these glass houses, normally they're absolutely stuffed with plants because they were planted, decades ago, and the plants have grown to completely fill the space. And so you can't really see the building on the inside. And then they changed the temperate house and they took all the plants out and then they opened it up, and almost no plants in there were above 6 foot high. I mean, they were all very young plants, which subsequently have grown quite a bit. But it was just tremendous being in such a huge space and being able to see to the other side of the room. I mean, the word room doesn't quite convey how big it is, but I guess that's what it is. And so they're going to be doing the same to the Palm House, and so I can't wait to see what it's going to look like. And I think part of it is also that they're improving the heating system, because it takes a massive amount of heat to keep all those plants happy. HAPPyness. Very important in the plant kingdom. So, yes, I'm looking forward to it. 5 years, though. I mean, it'd be nice if it was a bit quicker than that, but oh well. I suppose they know what they're doing. Cumbernauld, Andrew.
Good evening, Nick. How are you tonight?
Yes, sir. Very well, thanks.
I was going to suggest that when it comes to educating the younger people on political matters, there's two things they need to know. Is that they're always going to be disappointed, whoever they vote for.
Yes.
Nothing's ever going to work out as they hope it will.
Be prepared to be let down. Yes.
Yes. And ultimately there are no shining candidates, no matter what you think. You're only ever picking the dog with the fewest fleas.
Yeah. I mean, there were some periods in my life that it seemed different. I mean, I can remember when Tony Blair first came in, it was... we felt that, okay, things are getting better. But, if you hang around in the top job for a long enough period of time, then you are going to start disappointing people regardless of how well you started out.
Yes, I mean, the politicians will say 101 things. They're either being cynical so-and-sos that know they won't do it, or they're being thoroughly sincere, and when they get in, they won't get half the stuff done that they promised, no matter how sincere they were with it.
Yes.
So be a cynic, take everything with a pinch of salt, always expect to be disappointed.
Yes. But, I mean, I maintain that, life is not parallel lines. The choices we make do not result in us taking the same parallel route. Even if, just by a tiny degree, those lines diverge. If you vote one way, you're on one line, and you vote another way, your future is on another line. Even if by some tiny margin they diverge, in a long period of time, they'll be a very long distance apart. So I think that if politicians kind of look a bit the same, there's always the least bad option. And I think if we all chose the least bad option, then by the wisdom of the crowds, in good time, then we'll be in a better place.
Least bad dog with the fewest fleas.
Say that again?
Least bad being the dog with the fewest fleas.
Yes. yeah, exactly, yes.
And do you also think there's an argument to be made for giving people an IQ test before they vote, and their vote gets weighted according to their IQ?
Further than that, Andrew, I would insist on there being some sort of IQ test before they procreate. That's not a controversial thing to say, is it?
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. Of course not. Why would anybody think otherwise?
Aldous Huxley would probably have words to say about that, wouldn't he?
Well, we could burn one of his books at 415 degrees Fahrenheit and no one would know any the wiser.
Or 451, was it?
451. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Right, good night.
Ta-ra, 0345 6060 973. It says, when I was 16, I would have been so proud of myself for spoiling my ballot by drawing a blank next to the Tory candidate. You fill in the gap. I know I have.
Disgusting.
Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, then it's the same number as the phone. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Is he crazy or is that just the way he acts? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't think I've ever even thought this, let alone said it out loud. But come on, Rupert Murdoch, stick it to him. Sick him. Go on, please. This text says something should be done about the people who ride bikes and scooters on the pavement and going through red lights and zebra crossings when pedestrians are crossing. It is against the highway code. The police should do something about it or get rid of the highway or get rid of the highway code. Yeah, well, don't give them any ideas. Yeah, if they get rid of the highway code, then problem solved. Now then, some of these people have been waiting a dog's age. This one been waiting longer than anybody else, and it's a person in Regent's Park called Vance. Vance. Waiting so long, he's actually died. An ambulance is on its way to his location. Oh, well, it was an unreasonably long time to ask him to wait. So, second in line is South Shields. Hello, Joanne.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes,
and
Joanne.
Can I just say, I really enjoyed the angry caller. It was very funny. Angry people are funny.
Well, unintentionally, yes.
Right, what I wanted to say is, yes, kids should have the vote. Of course they should. And one of the reasons is, it's not just because I work with kids, is if they don't get it, there's going to be a whole raft of MasterChef kids and young Conservatives that will vote, and they are terrifying. I mean, yeah, talented kids are nice, but when you've got a 9-year-old that talks about crab foam, you just think, kick a ball about.
Crab foam. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, they'll vote. And we know how they'll vote, Nick.
Yeah. Can we just talk about crab foam? What's that?
It's something that probably takes a lot of time in the kitchen, and it's probably garnished with microherbs that you need tweezers to put on the plate. You know, that sort of stuff that doesn't fill you up and costs a bomb.
Yeah.
Like your quiche.
A quiche, yes. Well, I'm still trying to get over that whole quiche thing. I felt like calling an ambulance for my credit card. That just seemed like way too... It was delicious, by the way, but that was a rather expensive little
And it wasn't even
snack.
National Trust, was it not?
No, it was not, no. No, it didn't have a building that you could walk around attached. No.
Can I ask you a question? This
Yes.
is for you and the gentleman from Cumbernauld. Now, I love the way you say that, but when you were in Scotland, did you ever experience cremola foam?
What foam?
Cremola foam. It's in a tin.
Cremola foam. What is it?
Yeah. It's like flavoured bicarbonate of soda. It's like a soda stream without electricity. I had it in the 80s, and because I lived in Scotland for a short while. When I came back to England, I told everybody about this thing from Cremola foam, and I told my son, he's in his 30s, and it's now been brought back by fans. Well, it'll strip the enamel off your teeth, Nick.
I'm just looking at a can of it now. I've never seen anything like it. Cremola foam was a soft drink produced in the form of effervescent crystals that were mixed with water.
Yeah.
It was manufactured in Glasgow and sold in the UK from the 1950s until Nestle ended production in 1998. No! Yeah, thanks a lot, Nestle.
Well, it's back.
Is it?
Yeah, and the Iron Brew's the only good one, Nick, apparently.
Oh, right. Okay, so it comes in different flavours, one of which is Iron Brew.
Yeah.
Cremola... Cremola foam. Well, it seems to me like it would be the cornerstone to any nutritious breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, they've got bubblegum flavour.
That with a big crab form and quiche. Wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds disgusting. You've gone too far now, Joanne.
Okay, I'll let you go, Nick.
All right,
Bye.
thanks a lot. Cheers, my dear. Bubblegum flavour. Well, it's probably all natural ingredients. Anna says, how many people over 70 are voting with early dementia or at best with failing memory? Serious question, says Anne. Well, we don't know. Yes, but that does go back to there should be some sort of test, perhaps, for the benefit of the nation. Now, I know that people are going to bridle at the very idea, but if we're talking about being patriotic, then perhaps there should be some sort of test before you're allowed to make a decision that could change the lives of the people in this once great nation. We should think about that. Phil in Devon says, Dearest Nick, can I please rudely interrupt what you're saying? The youth of today don't make me laugh. Now, does he mean that they don't make him... Well, read on, it will become clear. What I think he's saying is the youth of today don't make me laugh. I think it's that. Well, we'll go with that, and then we'll see how it carries on. So, from the top, Phil from Devon says, Dearest Nick, can I please rudely interrupt what you're saying? The youth of today don't make me laugh. They walk around with their phones in their face, walking towards you, oblivious to everything around them, and they've lost all capability of basic human communication. I dread the future. All the best. Fabulous show, as always, says Phil.
Oh, fabulous.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Yeah, okay, mate.
Yes, good, thanks.
Okay. I first of all, I want to thank Vince. He drove all the way from Maidenhead to try my fish and chips. He came, ate them, and went back straight there.
What?
Yeah, seriously. And he's put it on your Facebook page, your fan club, yeah.
That must have taken all day.
Yeah, he was on a moped. So he took a couple of hours.
Well,
so
he would have felt every single inch of that journey then on a moped. Can you imagine the horror?
Well, yeah, I told you about...
Oh, the noise they make, painful. Be honest, Ranjit.
Yeah.
How far would you travel to have your fish and chips?
Well, how far would I travel to have something that I enjoy?
To have eat your fish and chips. How far? What long a period would you be prepared to put up with in travelling to eat your own fish and chips?
Well, I haven't really, have I? That's a rhetorical question. I'm there, I'm cooking it myself.
Yeah,
so
I know, but if you weren't,
somewhere else.
Knowing the quality of your product, how far would you be prepared to travel to savour it?
I do what Vince did.
Right.
Vince told me that he's been to a few fish and chips. He's been to one in Isle of Skye as well. Yeah.
What, was that a day trip too?
No. He I think he's a man of leisure, so he enjoys his life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Talking about I want to talk about a couple of things. So the first one, you ought to get Nigel Farage on your show. You know the hypocrisy he comes out with. Yeah. Last week with one of the Richard Tice and all these lot. They're saying, well, you've got a leader who's 18 of Warwickshire Council.
Yeah.
Well, the younger they are, the better they are.
Right.
And now he's saying they can't vote when they're 16, right?
Or 17.
17. They've got a 19-year-old who's in charge of adult services, right? Right.
Yeah, some kid is, he looks like he's just barely on solid food, and he's running one of their councils. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is.
Warwickshire Council,
Right.
he's 18,
Right.
and there's a 19-year-old who's in charge of adult services. But then again, he has got a lot of experience of adulthood because adults brought him up.
Yes.
That's something like what Farage would say, right?
His parents are older than he is. Yeah, almost
so
certainly.
He'll be watching them, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. This is the whole way the world just gone topsy-turvy. And, I told you even last year, right, and I told you last week, right, that, or the week before, there should be a merger between the flood department and the drought department, right? So last week we was having a drought, and tomorrow we're going to have floods, yeah?
Apparently.
All the drains and everything, right, are all blocked with the leaves from last autumn.
Yes.
Right, so nobody's bothered to clean them. We know there's going to be rain, heavy rain, because of what the meteorologists are telling us.
Right.
So that's one merger and marriage. And I think, and I agree with you when you're supporting, Murdoch, and I never thought that I would ever support Murdoch. And I think Elon Musk and Murdoch should merge on this one, right?
Well, I would like Donald Trump to try and sue Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has enough money to buy every lawyer in America. I would love to see that. It could be one of those World Wrestling Smackdowns. I would pay a lot of money to see that.
Yeah, and the thing is now, right, Murdoch, Murdoch is a victim of his own success. Now, he puts governments in and he takes governments out, and now suddenly one of his robots, right, has turned against him, hasn't he? Like you said, that AI machine.
Yes.
It says, can you self-destruct or can you switch yourself off?
Right.
Basically now, when people talk about Trump, because he turned around and said, look, listen, if I shoot somebody in Times Square, in front of everybody, I won't lose a single vote. Fifth Avenue, whatever he was, I won't lose a vote, right?
Well, he's losing it now. All those maggots are absolutely furious with him because they thought that he was going to do what he said, which was release the Epstein file, release the Epstein client list, get names. That's what they want. And then when he's in Paris, like, oh, what list? List? What list?
If I was a broadcaster and I interviewed Farage, right, one of the things I'd say to him is your name on that list, mate, at all or anything, what do you think about it? And see what kind of...
I think he'd say no. I mean, it seems vanishingly unlikely that he is someone who has lived in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. I just can't see it.
No, but how can you defend one of your friends if something wrong like that? Yeah, if you look, you're my friend on the radio and I'm your friend. If you hear something bad about me, you say, "Well, listen, Ranji, you know what? People are making accusations against you. Come out with them, see what's going on, face it." And I
don't know. That seems to be like one of those things that the press engage in. On a slow news day, they'll call up the Palace of Westminster and say, "Is Prince Charles having an affair with a horse?" And they'll say, "Of course he isn't. Don't be ridiculous." And then there's your headline: the Palace denies Prince Charles. He's not Prince anymore, is he? King Charles. They deny that any such thing ever happened, and there's your headline. You could run with that for days.
Well, when the Twin Towers happened, there was a Labour aide that actually said, "Listen, today's a good day to get rid of bad news."
Very bad news.
And she actually got the sack, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I'd like to know, because Trump can pardon himself. He can kill 100 people and pardon himself, and nothing will happen. Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure that he needs to, because he's already been pre-pardoned for anything that he does while he's president.
So what's he afraid of then? What's on those files, or what's Putin?
He's afraid of his support vanishing and the consequences of all of his actions of his entire life coming crashing down upon him.
Yeah, that means, when you say he'll be there for another term, right? I think that might be in jeopardy now at the moment.
Well,
right?
I think when you corner somebody like that, then they get really nasty. And I think that because this is his life's work, essentially, his entire life has been capped with being president twice, and there's very little that he actually wants in life now. I mean, he's got so much money, of course. having so much money doesn't really satisfy somebody like that. You want more than anybody else. You want to beat everybody else. So there's that. But there's also the power that comes with being who he is, being the president of the United States. I mean, do you remember that video of him saying that Kim Jong-un's people, they sit up straight when he speaks. They say yes sir and yes sir, and I want my people to do that too, said Trump. That's what he wants for the rest of his life. And if somebody it looks like they might be taking that away from him, well, I mean, absolutely everything is on the table, up to and including World War III. Because if World War III broke out, then he'd be safe.
Yeah, I think he wants a dynasty, right? Definitely, right?
Oh,
he wants to be the king, right?
He wants to hand the crown down to Lurch. Skip his idiot sons. give it to Lurch, who has the appearance of the dark side about him. Looks like that to me.
The thing is, right, his ego, he knows he can't ever be Elon Musk, yeah? He knows he can't ever be Putin.
I don't know. Putin is a foe that he seems
he won't win.
He seems to be in awe of, or Putin has something on him, and we don't really know what's going on there. But I bet that he would think that he can see off Elon Musk. Betcha.
Yeah, but he can see Elon Musk off by putting him in jail, on national security things or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But, Kim Jong, like last time, he says, the Rocket Man, he said, listen, come into our international waters, And he goes, I'll blow you out the sky. And he soon chickened out, right? See, when he meets a formidable opponent, he chickens out, right? Now, he's got a lot of money, and obviously Rupert Murdoch is in his latter years of his life, so he has to be careful of what he's doing.
No less powerful because of it.
He isn't, no. But if he gets Elon Musk behind him, then I don't think you're going to have
I don't think he would need to. Rupert Murdoch's got all the firepower he needs because he runs the TV station that put Donald Trump in the White House twice. Fox News. All he's got to do is tell all those Fox News hosts to change their opinion, and then the walls will really start coming down. God, isn't it exciting? Ranjit, I've got to go, but thanks for that.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So they opened their big mouths and out came talk. Talk.
Kevin in Notting Hill says, regarding the lowering of the voting age, I think it's great, but I'm just worried in case it prompts Kim Kardashian or Minecraft to start their own political parties. Yes. I wouldn't recognise Kim Kardashian in a lineup. I mean, it's probably because I refuse to do my homework, but I just don't know who she is or why she's famous. I mean, after all this time, you'd think I would have some clue as to why they're famous, and I just don't. But that's my problem, not yours. Bath. Hello, Laura.
Nick, okay?
Laura, why is Kim Kardashian famous?
She's got a large bottom, that's all I know.
Right.
You can Google her.
I most certainly will do. Nothing of the sort.
Right, so 16-year-olds with this vote. I mean, all I'm going to say is I was 1 year too young to vote in the Brexit referendum, and had I been old enough, it would have changed everything.
Things would be a lot different.
So different. Yeah, definitely. But
when you were 16 and when all that was happening, were you actually engaged? Were you interested? Would you have gone out to vote if you'd had the chance?
On the Brexit referendum, yes. So right. I feel like the caveat, I still understand why people get so annoyed about it. And also it's quite exciting because I can actually put my bachelor's degree to use here, because I did neuroscience before. And
neuroscience? Blimey.
Yeah, sounds well bougie, doesn't it? So your brain does actually go through a process. It's like a big tree, and like it's constantly pruning back connections it decides which ones are important and which ones are unimportant.
My brain is like a tree. Is that what you just said?
I'm trying to dumb it down so you can understand.
Oh, wow. My brain's like a big stupid tree. Go on.
But that process of pruning stops at the age of 25. So, like, it sort of trims back connections that aren't important, and then it reinforces the ones that are important. So, you go. The more you go into a car, for instance, your brain recognises, well, we go into cars a lot, so I should probably remember how a car works.
It's like fields. It's like fields of wheat. You walk through a field of wheat, and there's a path. And so the next time you walk through that field of wheat, which imagine is an infinite number of possibilities, you tend to take the same path because you've walked down that already, and it's open for you.
Yeah, I mean, I went with the tree analogy, but you choose whichever nature analogy makes you feel good, you know. But the idea that, like, 16-year-olds somehow aren't mature enough, I mean, I understand there needs to be a cut-off point, but, like, there's not... Surely that means that you should take the vote away from, you know, women that go through menopause then, because the brain goes through a lot of changes at that point as well. Right. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, your angry caller from Ellie might have been on something, because I'm still going to say I'm a young person, but I did the unthinkable, which I think would exclude me from passing a cognitive test to take a vote if we did have one. But,
which is what?
I had my chicken in my room the other night, and I fell asleep with the chicken on my person.
Oh, yes.
It was actually really sweet. She was a good girlie, but I thought.
Did the chicken behave itself?
Yeah, she did, but I just felt like, on paper, this doesn't look very good. Like,
no.
It doesn't sound very tame.
Well, it seems weird. I mean, apart from anything, I can understand you falling asleep with a cat on you or the dog, but the chicken. I mean, so did the chicken fall asleep on you?
So I had her in because it was like last week. It was really hot, and I thought I'll bring her in for a bit. I sort of wrapped her one of those like ice blocks in a towel, and I thought I would get her to sit on that so she can cool down a bit.
Right.
And then I was listening to you. And
I sent you to sleep.
Yes, and I woke up in the morning and I thought there's something not right here. And then, my chicken was next to me, and she just sleeps like she just slept away. It was quite nice actually. But as I said, I don't know. Will I get a credit score when I get older? I don't know. Probably not.
Well, this is all going on your permanent record. You understand that, don't you?
Yes, I definitely do. One last thing I want to talk about, if that's okay, is capture test.
Yes.
Things.
How many squares contain a set of traffic lights? That kind of thing.
7.
7. No. Incorrect. You get nothing.
Well, the thing I was thinking is I did one the other week when I was trying to use my device, and it was one of those ones with where they obscure the writing or something. You have to write down the letters.
Oh, those are infuriating. I hate those.
Well, I kept getting them right, and I'm, you know...
Hang on a minute. You kept getting them right. That doesn't...
Sorry.
Wrong,
I meant getting them wrong.
Wrong, yeah, that makes sense.
I got the word right wrong just then.
Yes, that's right. Wrong.
And I kept getting it wrong. And I kept thinking, well, if somebody was visually impaired, apparently I am now, because I kept getting them wrong, or I'm not human enough, I don't know. But but I thought, if someone's visually impaired, how are they going to do this? Like, should it be the opposite?
Yeah, that seems unreasonable, doesn't it? People don't think about that kind of thing, and it is important because as you get apart from those who have an actual condition, your eyes just get a bit weaker. I mean, and you can't find your glasses because I put them down here and they aren't there anymore. Who's taking my glasses? That kind of thing.
Well, maybe it should be that if you're blind and you've told your phone that you're blind, if you get the capture thing right, then it should flag that you're not human.
Well,
I think opposite for them.
Yeah, I think you've thought about it a little bit too much, Laura.
Have a good evening.
Okay, thanks a lot. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. This says, those complaining about how 16-year-olds don't have enough experience to vote, perhaps bringing politics as a mandatory subject matter into schools with a splash of critical reading would make them a much more informed voter than the majority of voters over 60.
What?
Wow. Controversial, but true. I mean, did you know more about the subjects you learnt at school, or now? I mean, just think, if you did economics, stuff like that, did you know more about the subject while you were learning it, or now, years later? Because I would imagine that the answer for almost everybody is while you were learning it at school. I mean, once you took the exam, you emptied your brain of all of that information, didn't you? I know I did. I didn't recall a single solitary thing from either school or university the second I'd taken the relevant exams. So you do actually retain more information at school than you have later on in life. So if we're really talking about learning and the ability to learn, then that's with young people, not older people. I mean, your brain is relatively plastic when you're younger, and you can take on board no end of information and recall it at a moment's notice. When you get older, you can't remember a blooming thing anymore. Can't even remember where you put your blooming glasses and where are my keys, that kind of thing. Maybe that should be the test. Can you find your keys within 30 seconds? If not, then you get nothing. No voting for you. I'm just trying to help.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Those are my strict rules. 0345 6060 973. Oh, this is, get your popcorn and get a front row seat, because this could be epic. And I think that Charles Feldman, one of our American correspondents, he was quoted in the news at the top of the hour, and he was saying that Trump isn't actually going to go through with suing Rupert Murdoch and these journalists and so on. He's expecting them to do what other institutions have done and just cave, for fear that that Trump will, interfere with their business or restrict mergers happening and so on and so forth. And when a university caves, it's because he's threatening to take their funding away. When a newspaper has caved, a major newspaper, kind of disappointing, really, but and they've caved because Trump has threatened not to allow a merger to go through, and TV companies and the same. And everybody has just sort of capitulated straight away. But Rupert Murdoch is something else entirely. And I'm not sure that Donald Trump can win that fight. It just depends on whether Rupert Murdoch wants to fight it or not. Now, he could, for the benefit of his business and just for an easy life, he could say, OK, we apologise profusely, Donald Trump, for printing these outrageous allegations, and we'll give $10 million to your library. Because he's a big fan of books. But I would expect that is what Donald Trump is hoping for, expecting, because that's what's happened with everything that he has attacked so far. They've all said, oh, OK, we give in. Like, straight away. Instant capitulation. But Rupert Murdoch is a different beast. And he has got Donald Trump's megaphone, essentially. Rupert Murdoch runs the channel that Trump's MAGA fans are glued to day and night. Fox News. It's where they get their worldview from. It's not just where they get their news from, it's where they get how to think, how to dress from. And all Murdoch has to do is to have a quiet word with the editor in charge, or a loud one, doesn't really matter, or make his feelings known, and the entire output of that station could be changed. It could stop being a massaging feature for Donald Trump, and it could they could start levelling their cannons at him and blasting away, metaphorically speaking. And I'm not sure that that's a fight that Donald Trump can win. And there aren't many that you could say that of. I mean, of all the people in all the world, I think he picked the fight with the worst one, Trump. So I would be very disappointed if the Murdoch organisation and Wall Street Journal and all that, they caved just for an easy life. If he did actually decide to fight it, well, he's certainly got the money, no doubt about it, although Donald Trump doesn't really cost Trump anything because Trump can use America as a weapon. But the person that put him in the White House, more than anybody else, apart from Donald Trump himself, is Rupert Murdoch, by just having him endlessly on Fox News and just pumping out the opinion, the propaganda, essentially, day after day, hour after hour, endlessly, just ramming the message home. President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. And then we get to the stage now where those people just repeat that stuff. We just want President Trump, they say. Oh, please, Rupert Murdoch, give him everything that he's going to give you back in abundance. I'm actually quite excited because I had sort of got used to the idea that Trump was just going to be there forever now. I mean, there's no way America's going to have a fair election from this moment on. No way. It's just not going to happen. So either it will be a completely rigged election, which is, of course, one of the phrases that Donald Trump comes out with all the time. Every accusation is a confession with him and his type. Either it's going to be a rigged election or there's going to be no election. He's going to call a state of emergency, which is done already. I mean, it wouldn't be a first. He's called a state of emergency with these people dribbling over the border, the southern border, come in and mow people's lawns and butcher people's dinners and all the rest of that stuff that America is going to be in want of. So that wouldn't be a first if he called a state of emergency, and by which method he could cancel all future elections. I mean, you can't say that he doesn't want it to be king. He's just yearning for it, and then he could really put on a proper military parade, like they got in North Korea, which is what he wanted in the first place. It's quite an enticing prospect. Beckenham, hello, Austin.
Hi, Nick.
Austin.
Diarrhea Trump, eh?
Yeah.
Now, I think what Pamela Bondi, I mean, she said that this report was waiting on her desk.
Yes.
Why didn't she just put it out, maybe take a few more weeks, but put it out redacted? Now, there would have been questions, suspicions, but at least it would have come out in the open, as it were.
I don't think that's going to satisfy his MAGA base, because Trump, one of the things that he campaigned on was draining the swamp. You remember that?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, but it's not draining the swamp if you refuse to reveal the details of the thing that he told his fans he was going to the moment he got into the Oval Office again.
It's coming back to bite him.
Big time.
But now he's lashing out. I mean, the fact that he's lashing out shows that in my view, he's pretty scared, even though he's the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah.
He is human. We forget that. And there's going to come a time where he's going to have to face the music, I think. He's not invincible.
I didn't think that time would ever come. I really didn't. I thought that this is one of those guys who's just so incredibly lucky he doesn't know he's born, and he's just going to sail through life with no consequences, while whining continuously.
I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
He does nothing but whine. He's got to be one of the luckiest humans who ever lived. He's got away with so very much, and he just complains and complains and complains.
How on earth he wasn't nailed to the mast 4.5 years ago, January the 6th?
Yeah.
It's just beyond me.
I know. Yeah, saying that, and ever since it's been our brave first responders, and we must protect, we must respect our police and our military and so on. He pardoned all of those people. It's just...
It was the Republican hierarchy, wasn't it? Mitch O'Connell, and they just didn't do what they should have done, and that was the time to do it.
And most
So
definitely
they
was.
just let it pass.
Exactly right. Yeah, they had their chance and they blew it. Because they wanted to. They thought that their future would be richer and more powerful with Donald Trump in charge, and they were probably right about that. But then to wrap themselves in the flag and claim that they were doing it patriotically, I mean, that's just laughable. How anybody can believe that is just beyond me. Dinglings.
I guess they're just scared of the MAGA lot, aren't they, really, ultimately? Maybe...
maybe Donald Trump is going to be scared of of his own creation, essentially. Yeah. It's like this Frankenstein monster of all these people that have been expecting him to supposedly drain the swamp. Yeah. And it's beginning to look to them very much like he's not draining it, he's adding to it.
The ultimate irony.
Yeah.
You can make a Hollywood film out of it, really. It's just the reality nowadays is just that, well, it's just frightening, isn't it? But I think, he's... I think Musk overshot his, with the tweets in early June. And I think, when he was actually insinuating, wasn't he, more or less, that Trump was involved with Epstein in some sordid way. And then suddenly he went quiet because I think he's had his collar felt from maybe, the powers that be, the FBI possibly. Any more insolence, mate, and you're out of here. You're going to be on the next plane back to South Africa.
Yes, or suffer an unfortunate accident.
Yeah, won't put it past them.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, it does seem as though that Trump's America is a bit like an episode of The Sopranos.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a bit, mafia-like.
Well, exactly, isn't it? It's just, what's the next episode going to be? But it just turns from week to week, and he's so unpredictable.
Well, he's predictably unpredictable on most things, but on some things he is entirely predictable. Every supposed deal, it goes the same way. He makes you an offer that's the worst offer that you've ever had, and you say, well, no, you can't be serious, and then he updates the offer to something that's even worse than his initial position, in the expectation that you will cave, and when you don't, then he does. Which is why they're calling him Taco. Trump always caves. Taco. Trump always chickens out. Chickens out. There's chickens again.
There was a documentary on Channel 4 on Thursday, I recommend, and it's sort of looking at his relationship with Putin.
Really?
And, it's worth watching.
Well, what conclusion did they arrive at?
Well... I guess there is no conclusion ultimately. Right. I guess part of it was insinuation, but it's over, say, a 15-year period about why doesn't he actually? Even they showed just in the last few days him sort of lashing out at Putin, but ultimately he doesn't actually.
He doesn't do anything. No, makes
the
a
bark
lot.
Is worse than the bite.
Yeah, a lot of noise, but no actual direct action at Vladimir Putin or any of the other dictators on Earth. He just loves them. He loves to be seen next to them. He loves to imagine himself with that kind of power.
Yeah, there was an anecdote, just changing it slightly, with I think it was on the Matt Fry show with Ben Wallace was on, who's a good egg. I'm not a Tory, but I think he's a good egg. And he was saying, you might have heard this anyway, but in 2019 there was some bash some do at Downing Street or whatever when Trump was over here. And he told Ben Wallace, Trump, that he didn't like the EU fundamentally because in Ireland they refused to sanction one of his golf courses. And that's why he's taken umbrage against the EU. It sounds mad, but you can believe it, can't you?
Well, I think one of the reasons that he's so against wind power is that the Scottish government stationed a wind farm off the coast of one of his golf courses, which, in his opinion, ruined the view.
Yeah, there was a documentary about Trump about a dozen years ago or so.
It's hilarious.
Oh, God. And that's because I knew about the man. I knew, from Trump Tower and all that, and all the gold, all the, the lavishness. But when you see what a mouth he has, how, there was that chap who had this house and he wouldn't leave and he wouldn't roll over. And just what was coming from Trump, just such a vile character, as over the years we've grown to know, and people still love him.
Yes, I think they love him because they think that he will be nasty to other people. And the internet is absolutely full of people crying into their phones saying, well, I didn't think he was going to do this to me. I voted for him, and now my healthcare has been cancelled.
Yeah, the ultimate con man, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Austin.
Thank you.
Ta-da, 0345 6060 973. On that subject, this says, despite all the grief you give Donald Trump, I think we can agree that his superpower is that he is impervious to learning. See the things he said this week for further details. I don't know. I think he knows a lot about words.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
And he knows a lot about wind.
I know a lot about wind. I know a lot about wind.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. Stephen in Uxbridge texts, hi Nick, I am a 68-year-old retired social worker, and with regards to the feasibility of 16-year-olds voting, which I believe will be a good thing, I actually question whether many elderly people around my age and older have the capacity, awareness or maturity to make informed voting decisions, and that is barely discussed. Oh, I agree entirely. The amount of people that I hear say, oh, I voted this or that party because I've always done that, it's just, it's off the scale. And that rather implies that you haven't thought about it for your entire life. You just made a decision when you were youngish, I suppose, and you just stuck with it regardless. I mean, the Conservative Party has changed immeasurably since the 1980s. You could say the same for the Labour Party. The Lib Dems have certainly added and subtracted some policies. The Greenies are fully transformed. So just to say that, well, this is how I vote because I've always done that, I mean, that doesn't imply somebody who is somebody who thinks about their choices. It's the opposite of that. They don't. So in what way would that be worse? Or better, rather, than 16 or 17-year-old voting? I'm quite surprised. I came in tonight thinking there are going to be an enormous number of people who are absolutely furious with the idea of 16 and 17-year-olds voting. And not really. I mean, we had one furious old geezer right at the beginning of the programme, but not much since then. I don't know, maybe it's just a function of the people who would listen to me. They are more for the youth than against. David in Chichester says, can you think of a country that begins with the letter A but doesn't end with the letter A? I'll give you 5 guesses. He says, it took me weeks to think of one and it was doing my head in. Then I asked my 10-year-old son and he got one straight away. Proof the younger are wiser than us oldies. Can I think of a country that begins with the letter A but doesn't end with the letter A? Armenia? No. Well, that's not a guess, though. Does that count? I'm just eliminating at the moment. Austria? Australia? Argentina? That's weird. Any country that starts with the letter A ends in the letter A. This is freaking me out. Armenia, Austria, Australia, Asia, I suppose, but that's not a country. But that also begins and ends with an A. Well, what's that about? What other words begin with A and also end with A? Almost none at all. I mean, it's not really an English language phenomenon, is it? And nobody else can think of one either, because look at that switchboard. You're all going, you're thinking, no idea. A country that begins with the letter A but doesn't end with the letter A. I don't know. I'll move on. Maybe it will come to me in the next 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, I have been defeated. This says, my son's been able to vote since he was 16 and has never missed going to the polling station on election days. Kids in Scotland have had modern studies in the curriculum since I was at school, and they're more informed about politics and their roles in it. Oh, by the way, if somebody's calling in with that, don't tell me what it is. I'll have to guess. All right? I'm just relaying instructions to my glamorous assistant. Don't tell me. So again, I mean, I know I read it, but I wasn't really paying attention to what it said. So I'll read it again. My son's been able to vote since he was 16 and has never missed going to the polling station on election days. Kids in Scotland have had modern studies in the curriculum since I was at school, so they're more informed about politics and their roles in it. Yeah, well, I restate my case. I bet that you were more informed about the subjects that you took at school when you were at school rather than since. I bet you've forgotten everything. All of that education, all of that knowledge. What a waste of time, eh? Just so you could pass an exam. But your brain was full of more information when you were younger than it is now, so I think that maybe it'd be more appropriate for a 16 and 17-year-old to vote than a 76 and 77-year-old to vote. OK, a lot of smart Alex think they've got the answer. Hoxton, Gilletta.
Hi, Nick. It's Gilletta.
Gilletta. Gilletta, right.
So all this Soviet Union times education. I mean, my memory is pretty crap, but I've got Azerbaijan. If that's
Azerbaijan. By Jove, I think you've got it. Oh, there's also Afghanistan. I see they're all coming through now.
There you go.
Yeah, very good. All right, excellent work there, Gilletta.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you are, you see. Afghanistan. I mean, it's in the news enough. Now I feel stupid. No, Nick, you're not stupid. Anybody could have made that mistake. Why do you beat yourself up like that? Can I get a bit of help here, please? Yeah, and thanks a lot, David in Chichester. You ruined the end of this show. Can I think of a country that begins with the letter A but doesn't end with the letter A? Of course not. I've forgotten everything I learnt in school, and subsequently, as a matter of fact. Dave in Paul says, I've come to the conclusion that the country I was born in is totally alien to me now. The toad-faced gas bag. Who can he be talking about? The toad-faced gas bag is easily pulling ahead in the polls because half the population really just love his nasty Trump-style bigotry, and the rest are cannon fodder for the Farage spin. It's so pathetic watching us tread the exact same footsteps the Americans took with our very own pound shop version. Yeah, well, I've said this before. If you like what's happening in America, not the idea of what's happening in America, not the promise of what he was going to do, the actual thing of it. Taking people's healthcare away. Taking children's meal at the start of the day away. You know, for those families who are too hard up to be able to put a decent plate of food on the table for kids first thing in the morning. Taking all of the safety nets, essentially, that are not used by billionaires, that are used by people who, you know, are only a paycheck or so away from financial ruination. Taking those safety nets away and giving the money that's saved to billionaires who don't need it. If that's your idea of good governance, then go ahead. Otherwise, I would take Nigel Farage's advice.
Please don't vote for me. Thank you.
I'll keep that in mind. Ali in Fife says, I actually think that over 60s probably get almost as much of their news from social media nowadays as newspapers. The difference is 16 and 17-year-olds can actually tell what's AI and what's real, and can probably identify fake news or use the internet to fact-check and verify things more easily. Yeah, I think that idea that kids have got their faces in their phones all day long and so don't know anything is the reverse of the truth. I mean, the implication that oldies are informing themselves with fountains of only the fountains of wisdom is just absolute nonsense. They read the same stuff. It's just a different social media site, that's all. They're on Facebook, and the kids are on... Well, I've got absolutely no idea what they're on these days. They're on ticky-tocking, doing their weird dances. Or something. 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 Or something.